Hello YouTube and welcome to my channel. This is Prime Productions, a new YouTube channel, so please bear with me as I figure things out. Today is going to be the third in a series of short videos describing how to play Pathfinder 2nd Edition. Last time we discussed heady topics like the degrees of success system, the 3-action economy, and the proficiency system, and I realized I was using terms that you may not understand or know about. So today I'm going to define some terms that are in Pathfinder 2e, and then we'll talk about one of the kinks of the Pathfinder system, how oddly specific it is. So let's get started. Attributes. The first thing we want to talk about are attributes, or what Dungeons & Dragons calls ability scores. These are the 6 scores that define your character's raw potential. 3 are physical, that is your strength or how strong your muscles are, your dexterity or how agile you are, and your constitution or how physically tough you are. 3 scores are mental. They are your intelligence or how logically smart you are, your wisdom or how intuitive and perceptive you are, and your charisma or how good you are at influencing others. Each attribute starts at 0 or human average. You can go negative, getting a -1, or go as positive as +4. As time goes on and characters get more experienced, you can go higher than +4, but +4 is the highest you can start with. You add your attribute to all related checks or dice rolls. So, if you're trying to play a game of, let's say, tug of war, you would add your strength attribute to your athletic skill to determine how good you are at playing tug of war. You add 1 attribute to most of your rolls. Players of D&D will find this familiar as D&D uses almost the exact same system, only characters start at 10 and every 2 points increases your modifier by +1. So, a Pathfinder modifier of +1 would be a D&D score of 12 or 13. A Pathfinder modifier of +2 would be a D&D score of 14 or 15, so on and so forth. In truth, the two systems are basically the same, and if using D&D's ability score system in Pathfinder makes it easier for you to remember, please do so. There's really no mechanical difference between the two. Alignment. Alignment used to be a thing in Pathfinder, but as of the remaster project, it's been removed, so you don't need to worry about it. For D&D fans, if you like using the alignment system, feel free to give your character an alignment. It's not going to hurt anything. Ancestry. In simple terms, ancestry is your race or species. A human has the human ancestry, an elf has the elf ancestry, so on and so forth. Every ancestry has a few traits attached to it, which are like keywords. We'll talk about those in a bit, but if you're a human, you have the human ancestry and also the humanoid trait. A dwarf would have the dwarf and humanoid traits, and a sprite would have the fey and sprite traits. We'll talk about traits here in a little bit. Armor class. This is how hard it is to hit you with a physical attack. Armor class, or AC, can come from any number of places, such as your training, your raw agility, wearing armor, or holding a shield in front of you. Your armor class is the number an enemy has to roll to beat you. Remember, if an enemy beats your armor class by 10, they critically hit and you take double damage from the attack. An attack. Attack may seem self-explanatory, but an attack is any action that has the attack trait or keyword. This includes bonking someone with your sword. Certain spells are also considered attacks, as are things that you can do in combat, such as trying to disarm or grapple someone. We'll talk about attacks in a subsequent video. Class. A class is how you've learned to adventure. Are you a wizard, a fighter, a bard? There are a lot of classes in Pathfinder, so there's bound to be one to your liking. We'll cover all the classes in subsequent videos. Feat. This is one of the biggest differences between Pathfinder and D&D. In D&D, feats are rare and powerful. In Pathfinder, they are fairly common and not as powerful. Feats are essentially options you can take to grow your character. There are ancestry feats related to connecting with your species and exploring your roots, class feats which open up new abilities for your class, and skill feats which expand or improve the use of skills. We'll discuss feats more in subsequent videos. HP, or hit points. Most people know what this means, but it represents your vitality or pool of life. Once your HP hits 0, you start dying, but aren't quite dead yet. Your HP can never go negative. Check out the death and dying rules in Archives of Nethys for how dying works, but essentially, as you take damage, your health points go down. When they hit 0, you fall unconscious and start dying. Level. Just like in Dungeons & Dragons, as you gain experience, your character gets more powerful. Every so much experience, your character gains a new level, which makes them better in their chosen adventuring path or class, like we talked about. So a fighter who gains a level gets better at fighting. A wizard who gains a level gets better at wizarding or casting spells, so on and so forth. A saving throw. A saving throw is probably the weirdest bit to explain to newcomers, but essentially your character's ability to resist negative effects. Want to dodge out of the way of that fireball? Saving throw. Want to resist that poisoned meal someone slipped you? Saving throw. Want to resist that mind control spell? Saving throw. In Pathfinder, there are only 3 saving throws: Fortitude, which is resisting things like poison and disease; Reflex, which is getting out of the way of bad things; and Will, which is helping fight off mental effects. Alright, so we've come to the final thing I want to talk about, and this is also probably the biggest thing in Pathfinder, and that is traits. So a trait is a keyword or a tag that is added to most actions or activities. In other words, they let players know what counts as what. Most traits don't do anything on their own. They're just there as a guide to show you what abilities count as what type of things. I know that doesn't make much sense, so here's a good example. Let's take the Phantasmal Killer spell that has the death, emotion, fear, illusion, and mental traits. If a creature is, say, immune to the death traits because it's undead, then you look over, see that the Phantasmal Killer has the death trait, and realize the creature in question is immune to the spell. Similarly, a different monster might have a penalty to their saving throw that we just talked about to resist emotion effects. And look here, Phantasmal Killer has the emotion trait, so that creature would suffer a penalty to resist this spell. Not only spells have traits, nearly every action does. Simply attacking with a weapon, called a strike in Pathfinder, has the attack trait, meaning it counts as an attack. Meanwhile, the spell Electric Arc does not have the attack trait, so it isn't considered an attack, even though it's designed to hurt people. So why does Pathfinder get so persnickety about traits and rules? Well, it's one way to make sure that people know exactly what is going on. The attack trait does some very specific things in Pathfinder, so the makers of the game want to make sure you know exactly when these rules come into play and when they don't. We'll talk about what the special rules for the attack trait have in a subsequent video, but just know that it is done with a very specific reason to help game balance and to prevent confusion if you know where to look. Once again, I'm new to this YouTube thing and I'm trying to make a go of it, so any comments, likes, or subscribes would really help this channel out and tell YouTube that you would like to see more of this content. Thank you, good day, and happy gaming!